Retired Navy SEAL David Goggins is described as the toughest man on the planet.
Holding the pull-up record, 4,000 pull-ups in 17 hours.
He's also an ultramarathon runner with more than 60 races.
Everybody thinks I'm Superman. I had to tell them the truth.
I was not always this strong guy you see.
David Goggins is the only member of the U.S. Armed Forces to ever complete SEAL training.
He beat the living hell out of me.
U.S. Army Ranger School.
I had stuff on my notebook, we're gonna kill you.
And Air Force Tactical Air Controller training.
That's when the real war started for me.
Athlete, speaker, soldier, and New York Times best-selling author, often referred to as the hardest motherfucker on planet Earth. Why is the truth so important?
There's a battle we all face every day, but it's not out in the world, it's in our minds. The struggle to overcome doubt, pain, fear, and the voices that tell us we aren't enough. Today, we dive into the mindset of the man who has conquered these demons. David Goggins, the toughest man alive, is here to show us how to win that war in your head and find peace. But first, a quick heads up. This conversation contains strong language. If you're not comfortable with that, or if you've got kids around, this may not be the right moment, but if you can handle it, prepare to hear the truth that could change your life.
What's motivating you is the stories I'm telling you about what I did in my life. Once I stop living that, I'm no more.
Yes.
As a man looking at another man, you know when the man's done. I didn't want to win. I still don't want to win for some reason. I don't care about winning. For some, I just want to go the distance. The Hell Week was very different than most of them. They had us on our feet the whole time. My stress fractures, I'm blown up. My legs were broken. I'm sitting thinking, how the freak? Now there's no walking, I can't heal. So what I did was I cast it with duct tape. So I put the duct tape over the sock. But basically after 45 minutes, my legs were broken. And when they go numb, you don't feel it. And people say, why did you do that? It's either that or not become a Navy SEAL.
David Goggins needs no introduction for many. He's a former Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, and Air Force TACP, the only person in history to complete all three. He survived 3 Hell Weeks, ran over 60 ultramarathons, and faced unimaginable pain. But what really sets him apart is his mind, what he calls the mental fortress.
I started doing this triathlons and endurance sports, ultra runs, just to test my soul, to see what I'm about, to see in a 150-mile race at mile 75 when I feel really bad. That's when you know. That's the only time you can find out what the human body is all about, what you're made of, to find out limits to myself.
I'm about 7, 8 years old, and I hear some ruckus outside my room as I'm getting ready to bed down for the night. And my dad is smacking the hell out of my mom and knocks her. She falls down, he grabs her by her hair and drags her downstairs by her hair. And so at this age, I'm sitting thinking, man, what the fuck should I do, man? Like, I'm scared, but then something in me saying, you gotta go and do something. So I go on the stairs and I jump on his back and he beat the living hell out of me.
Before Goggins became the warrior we know today, he was a broken child. Growing up in Buffalo, New York, his home life was chaos. His father, an abusive alcoholic, would beat his mother, brother, and him senselessly.
I'll never forget looking at her face. She was broke, like she was just broken.
He tried to stop his father one night, only to be beaten even worse. Covered in bruises, his mother finally decided to leave. This moment, though traumatic, would be the first of many battles David would face.
My mom got courage to finally leave him when I was about 8 years old. We moved to a small town in Brazil, Indiana, and that's when the real war started for me. There was about maybe 10 black families at about 10,000 people in town. And in 1995, the KKK marched in the 4th of July parade.
David's journey wasn't just about physical toughness, it was also mental. Moving to Brazil, Indiana, should have been a fresh start, but instead, Goggins faced racism, bullying, and self-doubt. His learning disabilities made him feel like a failure in school, while the emotional scars from his father's abuse left him feeling less than human.
So me being one of the few black kids in that, in that area, you know, it kind of haunts you. I had stuff on my notebook, you know, nigga, we're gonna kill you. They had that on my car, nigga, we're gonna kill you. This is early 90s. And even though I showed it didn't hurt me, it was jacking me up. So all the insecurities I had when I was a kid with my father, it just got worse and worse and worse. And the shit haunted me.
But life wasn't done testing David. One Christmas, when he was in 8th grade, his soon-to-be stepfather was murdered, adding another layer of trauma. David slept on the floor for months, scared to even climb into bed.
So I'm about 7, 8 years old, and I hear some ruckus outside my room as I'm getting ready to bed down for the night. And my mom and dad are outside my room because there's a staircase right there. And my dad is smacking the hell out of my mom and knocks her almost unconscious, where she's kind of out of it, you know, she's kind of loopy. She falls down, he grabs her by her hair and drags her down the stairs by her hair. And so at this age, I'm sitting thinking, man, you know, what the fuck should I do, man? Like, you know, I'm scared, but then something in me saying, you gotta go and do something.
Oh my gosh. But
I'm scared to death of this guy because he's been beating the shit out of me since I can remember. And I mean like laying me out for nothing.
That fight would define Goggins. Instead of succumbing to the darkness, he began to build himself up brick by brick, challenge by challenge. The transformation began. David Goggins didn't become the toughest man alive overnight. It was through relentless self-discipline and an ironclad mindset that he forged himself into a warrior. He trained through pain, literally running on broken legs. He survived 3 hell weeks, becoming a Navy SEAL when most people would have quit long before.
So anyway, I look back and I said that, and when I got done, I didn't even get a chance to say it. I looked at her eyes, in my head went right back to her face when she saw me bruised up. And that fucked me up. And for 58 seconds, look at the video and you'll see me, my head's down and I'm sobbing.
wow.
And I'm in front of 5,000 vets. And the guy who was hosting the thing had to come up to me and like put his hand on my back. And I was just destroyed, overcome with emotion. And then 58 seconds go by and I get up and I deliver this speech. And so I tell you that because my life tattooed me. And so when I came from Buffalo, I was 8 years old. I didn't have one learning disability, I had several. But I hid all this shit. I never talked about my dad being crazy or I couldn't read, I couldn't write. I got held back in my 2nd grade. So now we moved. My mom now finds the courage to move to this small town called Brazil, Indiana.
Was that beating the catalyst that made you leave?
That was the catalyst.
And that's probably why you flash back to that second.
Right.
Okay, I got you.
So basically that next morning, so this is what happened. That beating happened, and maybe 2 days later, my mom's in the living room while my dad's in the kitchen talking to one of his girls. My mom walks in the kitchen with me and my brother sitting in our, standard locations at the table. My dad at the head of the table, me and my brother at the side of the table, and there's a phone behind my dad. He always talked on the phone, smoking a cigarette, drinking his scotch. And he's talking to one of his girls on the phone. And my mom walks in, and this is where she was at mentally. She walked in, looked at me and my brother, and she said, you guys can come or you guys can stay, but I'm getting the fuck out of here. And so she was broke, she was just broken. And I got my shit and I packed, I was gone quick. My brother was kind of like, what should I do? So, long story short, he ends up coming with us to Brazil, Indiana, but he didn't want to come. We had car trouble, it's all in the book. He had car trouble, all kind of shit happened, but we finally get to Brazil, Indiana.
This is where the war is fought, in your head. Most of us give up when things get tough, but Goggins teaches us that pain is just another barrier to break through. His philosophy? Callous your mind, push through the limits you set for yourself, and you'll find freedom. But why? Why go through all that pain? Goggins believes that once you embrace the suffering, you can transform it into power. The harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. For Goggins, it's not about beating others, it's about beating the weaker version of yourself, silencing the inner critic, and finding peace in knowing you've gone beyond your limits. So, how do you win the war in your head? It starts with you. A relentless commitment to facing your fears, embracing discomfort, and choosing growth over ease. David Goggins' story teaches us that no matter how broken or beaten you feel, there's always a way forward. But it's not easy. The road to peace, to winning the war in your head, is paved with struggle. It's a daily battle. And the good news? You're capable of winning it. If you're ready to take control of your life and win your battles, make sure to subscribe for more stories of resilience and transformation. This is how you max out your life.
People that are listening to this, especially you young people that are listening to it, and I know some of the language is strong, but I just want y'all to understand something. No matter what you're going through right now, whether you're 7 years old or 77 years old, those things don't define you. This man, what you're about to hear, is incredible, what he's turned himself into. From a dad who was in those conditions to, I think your mom was great, right? But you've sort of said, mom wasn't ever again completely herself after those situations,
No.
right? Then he goes into school, has a learning disability, he's behind because he wasn't going to school, kind of starts just lying and cheating to get his way through school.
Stuttered bad.
Like this.
My elementary years, I stuttered so bad. I had these white splotches all over my skin. I had patches of hair falling out of my head.
Out of stress?
Stressed. I was so stressed out from my childhood, and then now I'm in this situation where I'm like, God, man, I'm dumb. I'm not smart, and now I'm like this black kid amongst all these white people, and it just made me feel just fucked up. And my mom was working 3 jobs. We lived in a $7 a month place. She was never home, and I was like, but I didn't want to put my troubles on my mom. Before that, my soon-to-be stepdad got murdered. One incident that really shocked my mind was Christmas. So picture everything I talked about. This is my 7th grade year. We're about to go out for, so Christmas break's about to happen. And so here we are. We had elementary to junior high that rode our bus. And we pull up in front of the junior high school, and the bus lets out, but not yet. This kid who missed the bus, he missed the bus because he had some cookies for the bus driver. He goes over, and I tell a story because this story, it fucked me up so bad. And this kid, mom brought him to school, and I see them pull up. I'm in the back of the bus, and I'm in the very back, right by the back wheel, facing the parking lot. The parking lot is probably 20 feet wide, and 15 buses are lined up, and we all open the bus doors at the same time we all get out. So the kid, I see him, the mom yells over, "You forgot something." He obviously forgot the cookies. He goes back, gets the cookies. I look forward, the bus moves forward maybe this much. Next thing I know, I'm hearing this lady screaming, top of her lungs, pulling like at her hair, this yanking at her hair, this screaming bloody murder. And I'm looking over at the same lady that called her little boy, I'm like, what the hell? And she's looking down under my tire. And so I see these things on my window, and I don't know what they were, but they were like little spots. So you know how the old bus school, the buses have little things you push in, you pull the window down. I push them in, I look down, I'm looking at her, and her face, her eyes are looking right down underneath my tire. And I'm like, what the hell is she looking at? So I look down, and this kid's head was this flat, and his eyes were bugged out of his head. And I tell you that story because almost exactly a year later, the same exact time frame, the day after Christmas, my mom's soon-to-be stepdad, my soon-to-be stepdad got murdered. So that, I tried to bury that, and now my 8th grade year, he gets murdered. And so what happens, I had to bring you back here to set the tone for what happened here.
I want to understand what the hell you just said. You're telling me in the 7th grade, you watched a young man get run over by the bus?
I didn't see it, I saw the after
You saw the
effect.
after of his, oh my.
And so what I did, so I got off the bus, and this is what curiosity does to you. This is the dumbest thing I've done in my life. I'm walking now, so I have to go to the principal's office because I was like witness to this shit. So I'm in the principal's office sitting there, and the one thing I did was I looked under the bus. So I see this, and I look under the bus as I'm walking to the principal's office, and I see these little kids' shoes. Now, I'm telling you this because this shit it's about PTSD, and so I already had it from my childhood. Now I'm in 7th grade, and I see these little kids' shoes like this big. He was an elementary kid, just twisted in, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And then nearly a year later, the day after Christmas, a year later, my soon-to-be stepdad gets murdered. And I tell you that because I slept on my floor for probably I don't know, 4 months to 6 months.
Why?
I was afraid to sleep in my bed for some reason. Don't know why. Some psychological fucking but I'm painting this picture for you to let you know where I was at.
Yeah.
So one time in my Spanish class, we had all of our notebooks that stayed in the class. So, and obviously your name's on it.
Yeah.
You go get your notebook for a class. And I always sat back in the back of every class, man, because I just want to be, just don't look at me, don't call on me.
Yep.
I don't know shit. I opened my notebook up to the first page, and on it was a noose, like a little hangman noose, with me hanging from it with the same thing, nigga, we're gonna kill you.